What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Separation in Alberta is still heating up. In fact, a new study shows that even more Albertans are now backing the idea of a referendum-style vote that they are saying that they would gladly sign to leave Canada and form its own republic. Danielle Smith has to play politics. We've talked about First Nations. We've talked about everybody kicking up dirt about this. Now, Danielle Smith, of course, coming out to make sure that she's very clear. She supports a unified Alberta within Canada, that she is not pushing for separation because legally she can't. Meanwhile, everybody's calling out an advocacy for Danielle Smith to lose her job. I'm going to cover that in another video. But what we have to talk about today is how Danielle is running politics versus what the reality is and where things are going, because Ottawa has now made the statement very clear that they plan to continue doing just as much damage to Alberta, if not more, as things go on. We're going to get all into that in this video, but first I want to have a word from this video sponsor, Broken Country. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Broken Country. In Canada's current landscape, our news outlets are government funded. Are we hearing the whole truth? Cognitive warfare is here. Are Canadians being misinformed? As Canadians, we're constantly looking deeper and asking more questions. I'm pleased to announce a new documentary releasing soon called Broken Country. It dives deep to ask the main questions on every Canadian's mind. Is personal freedom a key Canadian value? Has Canada accepted too many immigrants without enough infrastructure? Should we invest more in oil and gas? Is personal freedom a key Canadian value? Broken Country dives deep to shed light on these questions as well as many others. Take a look at this clip from the upcoming documentary.
Everybody wants a change. Everybody wants a change in this country.
There's a myth in Canada that we have dirty oil. That couldn't be anything further from the truth.
We need immigration, but I don't disagree. Welcoming 600,000 new people to Toronto every single year, year after year after year, may not be sustainable.
Regulation is a huge barrier in this country.
Every single aspect of operating these businesses has gone up dramatically in the last 4 years.
It's hard to make money in Canada.
59% of food bank users have a post-secondary education.
There's a critical mass of households who are one paycheck away from homelessness.
I think where we're starting off now, we are 5 steps behind what our parents started off with.
But wait, it gets worse.
Baby born today, she's on the hook for about $30,000 in federal government debt.
If you could change one thing about Canada, what would it be? Policy, housing, cost of living? Make sure to check out Broken Country when it releases soon to help answer these questions. Also be sure to head over and follow them on Instagram to enter into their giveaway of $5,000 to one lucky follower when the documentary launches. I have a feeling this documentary is going to hit hard and answer those burning questions. Contest rules, instructions, and links are down below the video in the description. Check them out now. Just a reminder, folks, go check out Broken Country. Give them a follow on Instagram. I do have the rules for their contest listed below in the video description, as well as the links. Make sure to go and follow them. Everybody could use $5,000, especially now. Get in for that draw. It's going to be great. Looking forward to that documentary. What we got to talk about today is a new study coming out in Alberta. Alberta Separation tweeting out that now 45% of Albertans want to separate without a single leader, without a single movement, without a campaign budget, just grassroots, nonpartisan. Alberta will be a country. Slim majority of Albertans, it says here, would stay in Canada, a new poll shows. This is without a movement, without a leader, without anything moving forward. People are starting to get on board. Why? Well, we look at what's happening with Danielle Smith. Danielle has come out and said that she's trying to work with other premiers. She wants to unify. She wants a sovereign Alberta. Let's take a look here at what Ryan Garrison tweets out. Sounds like Legault is open for a pipeline being built. It's still a long way off, but it's a positive start. Nothing is going to happen from this. We talked about this on our live stream the other night, and if you haven't joined us for our live streams, make sure you do. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time there, all to be had by all, especially with Mrs. Fringe hanging out with us. Let's take a look at what Danielle had to say, and then we're going to break it down as to why this is nothing more than word salad, and nothing's going to come from it. In fact, things are only going to get worse.
You thinking about that?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think what we've begun to see, especially since the big event in November in the United States, that Canadians have had to do a lot of soul searching about what it means to be Canadian. And what I've seen at the First Minister's table is that every single premier has priority projects that they want to get built, and they've had to make some compromises on things perhaps in the past. I've pointed out to them that the reason Alberta sells so much to the United States is we've had a hard time selling to our neighbors, both west and east as well as north. And what can we do about that? So I started that conversation with Premier Legault. He did say that he would have to ensure that there was social acceptability. We've done some polling, and we shared that with him to demonstrate that the loud voices might be in opposition, but the quiet consensus is that, yeah, we do need to work on these nation building projects.
So what's funny about that, and what's funny about that claim, is that Legault says, hey, we got to do it. Meanwhile, they've all said that only if it's socially acceptable. And Danielle saying, look, we've tried to get all the arguments and we've tried to make it very clear that it needs to be socially acceptable. Mark Carney, we covered in a story earlier in the week that he turned around and said, hey, as long as everybody's on board, I'm all for building pipelines. The reason they're making all these statements is so that they can just turn around and say, nah, it didn't meet the requirements. It's not socially acceptable. Mark Carney could say, well, Quebec doesn't want a pipeline. They've been very forward that they do not and will not support a pipeline in Quebec. Now, many people online on social media were reposting this statement from Danielle saying, why is she negotiating with them? Why does she think they're going to do anything? Is she this naive? Is she this stupid? This is part of Danielle playing partisan politics. This is her saying, look, I'm doing everything I can as premier to negotiate deals so that when the wheels get in motion for Alberta to talk about a vote on a ballot, they're more clear-headed as to why they would answer yes or no on a ballot question for separation. And if you don't think that, like, if you think that I'm just twisting words or jumping the gun, well, Pierre Poilievre has said it himself. It's not just Guilbeault, another Carney minister, saying he opposes pipelines. We're not talking about oil pipelines when we talk about energy corridors. So again, when Mark Carney talked about opening up things to the east and west, whenever you hear these guys saying that we're open to energy corridor, they're talking about gas. They're not talking about oils. They don't want their heat pumps anymore, but they don't want to support oil. Take a look at Dominic LeBlanc here.
Dans mes conversations avec les premiers ministres, et M. Carney dans la campagne électorale a été très clair, un corridor énergétique, ça peut amener des lignes de transmission d'électricité, ça peut amener le gaz naturel, ça peut amener à la limite des wagons de minéraux critiques. C'est pas uniquement des pipelines. Les gens ont tendance à réduire ça à une pipeline de pétrole.
Ouais.
On ne parle pas de pipeline de pétrole quand on parle de corridor énergétique.
So it's saying we don't want to talk about pipelines. We want to talk about energy corridors. Well, of course, because they don't want the pipeline at all. We're not getting a pipeline. Keep in mind, Danielle Smith gave them 6 months to have access for oil, as well as all of our minerals, oil and gas, natural gas, to the east, west, and north. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. What they're going to do is continue to put Trump derangement syndrome on their constituents to think that things are getting better, that Canada's fighting. We've seen the rhetoric. If you watched my earlier video talking about how Mark Carney is leaving tariffs in place to pay for essentially the replacement of the carbon tax into their green slush fund, gas prices haven't changed since the carbon tax came off. It did for a short period of time, but now it's back in full force. Well, look what they're doing now. The Trump factor is now causing our high gas prices. Not in the US, though. Funny how that works. Again, oil is at an all-time low. It says your Trump factor could cause gas prices volatility this summer. An analyst says, no, it's greed. Trump didn't set the gas prices to all of a sudden say, hey, May long weekend is here, jack up the price. This is price fixing. It's always been price fixing. I don't know what to make of this. But what you see in the comments are the Liberals love blaming Trump for their policy results. Is Trump the new code word for carbon tax? You've got others down here saying, oh my God, of course it's Trump's fault. They can no longer blame Harper, so it's going to be Trump derangement syndrome for the next 4 years nonstop. The reason I'm bringing up the gas prices is because when it comes to oil pipelines, when it comes to everything else, when it comes to Alberta posing the question of separation, and watch for it because it's going to come, folks, that the closer we get to the day that a vote is actually on a ballot, you're going to have the rest of Canada, particularly the left-wing loonies, as well as those in Parliament, saying that this is just people that adopted Trump's rhetoric of a 51st state. It's just people who have been influenced by MAGA. It's all Trump's fault. That we're pushing for pipelines because Trump said drill, baby, drill. It's all going to be turned around on Donald Trump. And Danielle Smith is going to be expected to say, no, we're good with what we have. We'll make a new deal with Canada, even though we're not getting pipelines, even though we're not getting what we asked for. We're not getting a fair deal. In fact, our deals are getting worse. Well, Danielle isn't as stupid as everyone thinks. And I have a feeling, now I can't, of course, speak for her, but I have a feeling by what's going on that we could very well see at the time, if a question goes through, a premier who's willing to stand behind the voice of her constituents, respect the decisions that Albertans are making, again, as this new poll suggests that 45% now support separation. Many people said that Brexit was never going to happen. What they didn't factor on was the silent majority that had already made up their minds. People were absolutely gobsmacked when Brexit went through, and while it wasn't the clearest separation process, and it certainly had its flaws, I think Alberta could be the next to surprise and shock people when it comes to separation and where Alberta will head in the future based on the actions of the government. And this is what I've always said, is it has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with taking our ball and going home because Pierre lost the election. This is about abuse from the government. And as you can see from the rhetoric coming from all sides of the government, is that they don't plan to do anything for Alberta. They don't plan to make things livable or better for its constituents. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that this is going to benefit Alberta, that eventually something will go through that will appease Albertans, or do you think that this is just more rhetoric to get them to shut up and keep paying, as Pierre Poilievre said? If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you hit that button, you click the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show, where we go over everything that's happened this week in politics, everything that is happening coming up ahead, joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe. We also go back and forth with the greatest YouTube community on the platform to hear what you guys have to say outside of making these videos. I look forward to chatting with you guys on that end, but I also look forward to chatting with you, most importantly, this Friday, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel, and every Friday at that time. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.